I couldn't resist. It's interesting. Come On In is technically where this project started, because I remember very specifically, and I didn't know what I was getting into, and this is, I guess, the way of things. I remember I was down in my hometown visiting some family, and I was sitting outside, and you were like, "Hey," like I got a message from you, and you're like, "Hey, could you put some music to this poem?" And I obviously I'd read the book. I knew you were doing an audio book, and I will share this. It was like maybe like this intuitive hit where I was reading your book, and I was like, there needs to be audio of this. I feel like maybe I should be involved in some way, but I don't know what's going on because we hadn't really officially met. You let me know later you're recording an audiobook. I was like, oh, well, there's that, throw that away. And then you asked me to put some music to your poetry. And at the time, the way that I sort of took that request was like, oh, I guess she just wants like a little, I don't know, some kind of just a soundscape thing that I could just put down that would just blanket underneath all of her poetry for the audiobook or something. Like, I didn't know. And I remember just like sitting outside by this pond on my computer speakers, like just like dropping a couple things down and putting Come On In on top of it. And then I sent it to you and you were like, no. I want it to be like I want it to be like music. I want you to like really do it. I was like, oh, like we're like really doing this thing. So that's how I remember the collaboration officially starting, even though Come On In wasn't the first track that we ended up doing. It was just that particular poem that I remember us having that conversation with. Do you remember that at all?
I do remember that. And I remember that it felt very like background sound, like not that it wasn't good. It just felt very much like background sound.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, no. I mean, like, how would you interpret this through your own musical lens and create a track for it, And then you're like, oh, okay, that's a whole other can of worms. That's a whole other thing.
Because I thought it was just like, oh, we're buds. I'll do this thing for you in a couple minutes and send it your way. And you were like, no, like a project. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Isn't that fun that it was Come On In? That was the poem.
Well, and there's even the like,
think of the meta-ness of
the water imagery, and like I'm sitting here at a pond and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but I guess I'll just and then it's like we jumped in.
You dipped your little toe in at first with that, and then I'm like, no, come on in, the water's warm.
If you would have told me then, as I was like just like literally like just straight up dicking around, like I mean I think one of my like nephews was running around and I'm just like I'm just chilling, I'm not that would turn into a full album that that we did. I would have been like, what, are you sure, like really, like it's just wild the way that happens. But we talked a little bit last time about like just like trusting the flow of these things, and just like I feel like it was just the curiosity. We just kind of kept being very curious, like what would happen if we put some music with this, and what if we did 5 tracks, what if we did a whole album, and it just kind of
and it started with 5.
It was.
So it started with like, okay, well, why don't we let's do this, let's try to do a few, and then it felt so good, and the work that was coming through was so powerful. What we were able to co-create, I'm like, oh no, let's go the full Monty. Let's do a full album.
Yeah.
And I think it was also a check-in to see how you felt, how we felt. Like, do we both feel like this is something that we want to co-create and make and put into the world? And I'm so glad that we were on the same level, same level of excitement.
Let's talk about the level for a second, then I want to talk about the poem specifically. But you say we're on the same level, and like that's something that I've really, I would say that one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the past, because we've been doing this album for around 6 months or so, because all the music was written from scratch. It took some time, but as far as like that goes, I've really learned the value in creating with collaborators that you're on a similar level with. And I don't mean skill wise or any external metric, more just like we talk about like trust and we talk about these things. And like, I feel like that's probably one of the most important things. And I look back into some of the creative things I've done before, and all of the best stuff was always when there was that level of trust and openness. And some creatives are better about that than others. And I know I've had to grow in that way as a creative. And so, yeah, I would just say that like when we talk about like, we were almost vibe checking each other and realizing like, I remember having a conversation with some people like, I'm like, Pia's like me in the sense of like, we're this like open kind of like, let's see where this goes. And there's no domineering. It's very, you know, it would have been very easy for either of us. Like either of us could have taken the I'm in charge here.
Yeah,
if I'm the producer, I'm in charge. You're like, well, I'm the person fronting the bill, so I'm in charge. Like it could have been that way at any point, and it never was. It was always very equal, and that's the way I feel like it should always be.
I agree with you. That's really a beautiful reflection, and it's so important because I come from the world of commercial creativity and agencies, and there's always someone in charge. Like usually it's the client. Like, no, this, fix this, do that, and you just kind of, I've learned through my career that, you know, I will always put my recommended approach and then I let it go.
Yeah, you have to.
And then they choose, well, some people fight, right? And
That's
then this is what it's like. I'm not the one footing the bill. So it's like, this is my recommended approach. And then you choose what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so I never actually experienced this kind of, well, I'd have, when I was working with my editor, and so it was very similar in that regard of just like two people that are here at eye level. We each have different strengths. We each know different things. We each come from different creative backgrounds, but one is not better than the other. One is not the boss. And it's like, we're just here at eye level playing and seeing like what might happen if we did this, and this is the vibe, and how would that feel? And I think it's just such a whole different playing field. It's like a whole different experience of co-creation. And I feel like that's such a gift that I'm going to speak for you. Okay, we were given. I know I was given that. Like, it's
absolutely.
like, oh my God, it could feel like this. Like this is like, you know, this is so great. And also I think we were conscious and considerate with how we gave feedback.
Absolutely.
You know, it was considered. It was like, oh, okay, well, I really appreciated that, but I'm not sure about that particular sound. Like how, I mean, Come On In was actually a tougher one.
Yeah, it was. We'll get into that. Yeah. I'll say this to put a little bow on this thing. I think inherently I'm very anti-authoritarian in all sense. But
likewise.
especially in I mean, I guess everywhere, but in creativity, there's no need. I just can't. I don't see why. I don't get it. It's like, why don't we just make things that we all love, whoever's in the project together? And I've been in the room with people. And I've been the other way too. I know, like we've all like made mistakes in these regards, but like I've been in the rooms where the producer or whoever is like the one in charge, and it's just like it never. There's like just like a feeling or an energy that is off, and I know that whenever we're doing our thing, that's not present, and I try, if I'm ever in a situation where maybe I would be the person that's in charge, to just like not. Like I'll help provide structure to the thing. I can give that, but I sort of renounce any sort of like authority, and I feel like that's a way that I want to be. And if I'm talking with someone, there have been some people I've talked to even in the last few months where I'm just like, I can just tell that we're not on the same level. Not like I'm above you, but just like the way that we create and the way we want to do this is not the same. The energy's off. Doesn't matter. I don't want to be in the project. And it's tough sometimes, but this project has taught me that like that's like our energy and the way that we're interacting with each other is again what goes into the work. And I just don't want to be involved in that other kind of work, whatever that is, wherever that comes from, whatever that ends up being, regardless of how successful it is. I just don't want to do it. So I'm just
absolutely. I'm with you on that. Energetic alignment, please, for the win. You know, I think what you're saying too, the authority part comes in when we believe our idea or our way of seeing the thing is the way to do it. Then there's no other way. And it's a way, exactly. But it's dangerous because then we close ourselves off to all the other possibilities. And I think it's very human to fall in love with your ideas. Like, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's that. And I think with Come On In, I will say I did have a particular idea in mind. Not that I needed it to be developed. Like, I really worked on letting go, like let go and allow
You definitely did.
other ways,
Yeah.
because we also it's not struggled. That's a big word.
No,
but we
no.
did go back. We did go back and forth. That's okay.
Well, before we talk music, do you have anything specifically? Because there was like a whole other version of Come On In. Do you have anything that you remember about poetry wise writing Come On In?
Well, I wanted to express or capture the difficulty with just releasing into the unknown, which is part of the creative process, like really releasing into creativity, which is interesting because it's what we're talking about right now as well. Yeah. So it's like, or releasing into a more creative life. It's very similar. So sometimes it's like there's this calling, something's calling us, like it's like a siren call in the ocean, like, come on in, the water's warm. And we hear it, but we don't know what's like at the bottom of the cliff. Like if we jump, like we can hear the call, but we have no idea what's waiting for us. And it can feel so scary, whether that's to live like a fully creative life, whether that's to dive into our own creativity or creative project. Something's calling us and it feels so scary, because it's like, I really want to jump, and that's why I like the line, the water's warm. It's like, it's good in here. Trust me,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try to capture the tension between being on solid ground, being on the precipice. One leg is like stiff and scared and like, muscles clenched. And like the other part of you just craves the wind. The other part of you is like so ready to leap into the unknown in the direction of what's calling you and what you want to create next. And I wanted to really capture that tension, that moment. And I also wanted to capture the release, that when you finally give in and follow the call and you just say, fuck it, and you jump.
Yeah.
And how beautiful it feels to be on your own blue wide, it's like, whoa, when you finally do the thing that you've really been wanting to do, create the thing, create the life, dive into your creativity, your process, your project, whatever it might be, and how fucking good it feels when you finally just allow and you jump and you do, but also capture the tension that moment before. And that, again, is kind of like an extension of RSVP in the sense.
Yes, it is.
It's like, it's like, okay, you've been invited, but now you got to do the work of the hard work. It is hard in the sense, challenging to actually trust yourself, trust your art, trust life, and jump. And so I really, that was what inspired that poem, and the metaphor of being on a cliff and being in the sun-soaked water, just felt like a beautiful visual way of explaining that tension and that release.
Yes. It's such a relatable feeling, both in creativity and in life. Like, we all love the hit of a good idea. If you're an intuitive kind of person and you get downloads of like, oh, I should go move here or whatever. Like, we all love the way that feels. Like, there's nothing better than when inspiration strikes. But then there comes the work. And then as you do the work, inevitably, whether it's a song or a move or a whatever, there are going to be those moments of like doubt of like, oh, I don't know if this is actually a good idea or not. I don't know. Like, and yeah, it's such a relatable feeling. And I know that for me, it often feels, and this came through in the composition musically, but it often feels like you're just straddling these two different worlds and you're just like, oh man, but this, I know what it's like over here. I know what it would be like to make the same album again. I know what it would be like to live in the same city my entire life. I know what it would be like there. But if I go to this place that I feel called to, that call that is so, I guess the best word to describe it is like, it's so unknowable. Like you hear the call, but you don't fully understand what it's saying a lot of times. And, it's sometimes scary to jump in, but then you sort of reflect and you're like, usually when I jump in, the water is warm and it feels kind of nice once I get used to it. I always forget that it's always this hard to jump. And so, it's always hard to start a project or open up a blank Pro Tool session or a blank piece of paper. It's always tough.
Or a new job, or a new way of living. You know,
Yeah.
even the really big, it's in the small and the big, right? But
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I'm not feeling satisfied or fulfilled where I'm at, but I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel something else calling me, but I have no idea what it could be. But that's what makes us feel alive.
Yeah.
Is when we move in the direction of the not knowing because it's calling us, you know. That's like spine tingling aliveness. That's like, you know, feeling it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that I really want people to remember, or even maybe I want to remind myself, is that risk comes with creativity. Risk comes with living a creative life.
Yes.
You know, there's a reason why that there's the old adage, like fortune favors the brave. Like,
absolutely.
You know, it comes with the package, and it can feel wildly uncomfortable. But when we release into it, eventually we just smell coconut suntan oil and get freckled and feel like the most freedom within and everywhere. And that might take a minute, but it feels so life affirming. Like it just feels like this is what I'm here for, to really live, right? Not just to stay stuck on the cliff's edge debating about living, but actually jump in.
There's one specific line where you're like, until the
tug of war.
Yeah, until it like is too much. And like that feeling is that resistance to whatever the idea is. And I feel like for myself, I'm trying to limit the amount of resistance that I feel to those things. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. It's exactly that. And I love, there was even like very indulgently, I took your fuck it and I like made it a delay throw later. It's like, fuck it. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. Why? Even when I did that, I was like, fuck it. Why not? Why not just put fuck it again? Fuck it. Who cares? But oh man, yeah.
In the true spirit of fuck it.
Yeah, it like it really was. And yeah, we need those. You said in the last pod, you were like, I don't know if it's a lesson or a reminder, and I think they're the same thing, and we need those reminders I need them every day, because I'm out here.
Same.
My creativity isn't, and this is I think why we connected, because when I read your book, I was like, she's on the same shit I am. The creativity is not limited to the studio. You know, it's my whole life. It's taken over my whole life. I don't know what to say. It's like I'm going to live a very creative life, and it's going to be very uncertain. And so having stuff like your poem here, now this track, it very much feels like that reminder, that lesson. And we'd be remiss to not talk music. So I will say that whenever you first gave me the prompt, I remember there being something
I can give it right before we jump in, right?
Please, yeah.
So come on in, the water's warm, vibe, easy beats, breezy, sun coming through the clouds after a storm, and pina coladas all invite you in. Mellow, intimate, indie pop feel mixed with dreamy bedroom pop.
I love that. And like, I think that we eventually got pretty close, maybe a little different than what we expected. I know originally there was a demo where it was a little bit more like indie rock, I would say. Like there was a lot of guitar, and it was actually kind of cool. Like it gave me like almost like a Death Cab for Cutie type vibes. Like it was nice. It was like this like fall autumn pop thing, but it was like more rock. It was not breezy. And I think that might have been your exact thing. You were like, it's not breezy. And I just remember liking the chords that I had used. And whenever it came time to, I think I pretty quickly turned around and, well, let me say this. When I restarted Come On In 2, it actually turned into, I wasn't in that place. I wasn't in the easy breezy that day. And it actually ended up turning into The Morning After. So Come On In 2, because I created a new Pro Tools session, actually ended up being The Morning After. And I know that because I would always have a hard time finding The Morning After session. I was like, oh yeah, it's Come On In 2. Come On In 3 is what we eventually ended up with. And for me, it's written, I won't get too music nerdy, but like a lot of times songs are either in like a major key or a minor key, like RSVP's in a minor key. But Come On In is technically in what's called like a Mixolydian key. So it's like a major key. It's light and it's breezy, but it has nerdy flat third, flat seven, and so it creates this feeling of almost like you're in between these two worlds. And so for me, you sort of like feel like you leave the key, but then you come back, and so there's this constant feeling of like, oh man, like I think that we're on unset. Oh no, we found our home again. And that's kind of what I wanted to evoke. And even in the way that at first the bass note is just hanging on the home of the key, and it just kind of stays there while all the chords change. And then eventually when you take the leap, the bass begins to move, and things kind of start to have a little bit like, oh yeah, actually it's not so bad to leave home. Actually, this is kind of nice. Like that's sort of the musical imagery I feel like was being conjured up from my end. So yeah, just kind of playing with that idea of like, you're in this place, but you feel like there's this other world, and you find that you can actually navigate both worlds quite easily. The known and the unknown is the way I think of it.
Yeah. And what was what was part of your process like going through 1, 2, and 3?
One was very sort of like intuitive. Like I remember I was at the time I had a space over a town over, like this studio space I would go to and work out of sometimes. I just remember being there and just feeling good. It was a Monday and I just felt nice, and I just made this thing that felt nice. And then I remember again, like going back, not because of the fact of this doesn't work, like that I knew that was going to happen. We're doing all these songs. There's going to be parts that don't work. I just remember not being in that space, like vibe wise. Like I find that, you know, emotionally sometimes, like there are just some places that are open to us and not. And at that time, I just remember not being able to tap into. I remember being like, today's not easy breezy, and that's fine. I made Morning After, which is this longing, almost like listful type of song. And so, but then coming back, it felt like just like this idea of like, yeah, like I think of that type of key, the Mixolydian. It's mysterious too, and so it's just kind of like maybe I was just open that day, and I was just able to be open to the mystery a little bit more. And I think also it was actually let me share this too. It was written at a similar time to RSVP. It was maybe like a week before, because I remember you and I had a conversation about my podcast, and it was a decision I was having to make. And that day I got sort of this musical idea. I think of them like downloads, and it was the chords to Come On In, but it wasn't for Come On In. It felt like something special, like, oh, this feels special. I don't know where this came from. And then it just so happened that we were working on Come On In, and I was like, let me see if I can make this happen with Come On In. And you know, that's I remember that now. That's where that came from. And I think that the idea of just kind of like the drums are just kind of like, they're almost like beatboxy. And even in the production, I tried to make it sound and feel like it was coming out of like a boombox. I don't know why that was sort of the imagery. And then even at the end, when you give that last come on in and it sort of pans from side to side, the sound quality sort of changes, and it sounds to me like you took your headphones off. And like I don't know why I was going with that. There's an old Coheed and Cambria song, I think it was called Blood Red Summer, and at the end of that a similar effect happens where it sounds like the headphones have come off, and I guess I was just aiming for that. I don't know where all the ideas come from, but they were just, that was kind of the flow of ideas, and it happened very fast, I remember. Yeah.
And I think this is also a great example of like the co-creation when some needing to let go of an idea. So I had this easy breezy kind of feeling in my mind about the music. And then I think respecting your perspective and also you as an artist and how that poem hit for you, or how that feeling of tension and then release it was expressed through you musically. And then honoring that and being like, okay, well, this is going to be something that I didn't imagine at all. And it's going to be like, wow, okay, well, that's cool. Like, I love to hear how you interpret that or how you express that. And so I think that's the spaciousness and the trust that's required, and also the willingness to let go of like, okay, I had a thought about what it would be like, but maybe this is something else, and let's leave room for something else and have it, be expressed in a way I couldn't have imagined. And so I think that to me is a beautiful takeaway from Come On In.
Yeah, and I would say too that almost none of I think it's just the nature of the way I create. I generally like to just be so open, and I like to be surprised. Like I like to be surprised. Like not like I like to make people feel surprised by a shift or a change, but like I feel like I'm genuinely surprised by most of the things that come out. Like I don't know. And I think that for Come On In too, like it feels like now when I listen back, that it's one of the better sounding parts of the project too, just because I don't know. I still don't really know what it is. Like but there's something about the way it sounds and the way that it's mixed, and I didn't really try. It just came out, and I was just like, oh man, there's something about Come On In now that I just don't understand. I would say probably more so than any other song. I don't understand Come On.
What don't you understand?
I just don't understand how it came to be. Like,
okay.
I don't look at that and go, that sounds, I can see it a little bit. Like there's like this like synth arpeggiator thing that I do two different sounds and they're panned really hard. It's like bung, 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 bung. That's a thing I do, I guess. Some of it's like stuff I do, but it just kind of feels like I was just doing this the whole time, and then eventually it's just like, there it is. I don't know. I guess I feel this way about a lot of things on the project, but Come On In particular, when I listen to it, sonically, everything, I'm the most like, oh, I did that. Or like, I had a part of that, and I don't know. I think that it has to do with just everywhere in this song and the DNA, because we mentioned all the way from the very beginning of sitting at the pond and just doing a little soundscape all the way to where it ended up. Very mysterious. Never could have thought that. And I think that that's just what I embraced.
Let's live in the mystery. We'll leave it there. Yeah. And invite people to see what comes up for them.
Yeah. Would love to hear it.
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks, Little Drop.
Thanks.
Come on in, the water's warm. A poem for those on the ledge. Left foot dangling in the air, wind styling hair, the heart a piñata, littering crepe paper and candy over terracotta dirt. Right leg muscles tense, stubbornly fixed to the ground. Fear increases heartbeats. Uncertainty makes jeans stick to skin, heavy. Standing between here and there is a strange limbo, a violent tug on both ends of a rope. One side wants to stay put, the other craves the wind. Come on in. Until the struggle between limbs hurts more than the leap itself. So you say fuck it and launch, knees tucked, cannonballing into the sea. Fuck it. You float, buoyed by a current, stare at animal-shaped clouds, follow the choreography of seagulls. Once you're in, you won't want to return to dry land. Even when you're sputtering saltwater, sunburnt and peeling, nothing beats the view of the sky, the rhythm of foam-crested waves, and a pastel horizon of possibility. Come on in. You don't know what's next, and that's precisely why you feel most alive in the ocean of your choosing, surfing on the curl of your creativity. If you're ready to dive into your own big wide, I'm the one in the donut floaty, smelling like pina coladas, windswept and freckled, waving wildly, wildly.